Revealed, billionaire discovers former maid sleeping at airport. His incredible, life-changing journey begins. Jake Foster, a 38-year-old titan of Wall Street, strode through John F. Kennedy International Airport, a gleaming watch and a tailored suit his armor against the world. The bustling sounds of hurrying travelers faded in his mind, drowned by the relentless drive that fueled his rise to the top. But beneath the layers of wealth, respect, and countless accolades, a gnawing emptiness lingered, a stark void that no amount of money could fill. Tonight, a chance encounter would challenge everything he thought he knew. Across the terminal, he spotted her. Maria, a woman in her late 30s, was curled up on a wooden bench, her weary form seemingly forgotten in the chaos around her. Tattered clothes clung to her, evident remnants of battles fought and lost. In her arms, she held faded photographs of 2 children, their smiles gleaming like precious jewels. He noticed her eyes brimming with resilience, tired yet filled with an unparalleled spirit. The contrast struck him. How could he, a self-made billionaire, have so little understanding of true struggle? As Jake watched, Maria adjusted herself, pulling her knees to her chest. A group of his business associates passed by, laughter and cocktails in hand as if they were above the world's worries. In a moment of weakness, coaxed by an unspoken arrogance, he leaned in toward his friends. "Look at her," he said dismissively. "I wonder how she ended up there." The words hung in the air, heavy with a judgment he didn't fully comprehend. The laughter faded, replaced by silence. Maria's head snapped up, her eyes meeting Jake's. Hurt flashed across her face, but it was quickly replaced by defiance. It was a small moment, a tiny flicker of connection, yet one that resonated deeply within the crowd around them. Murmurs buzzed, shocked glances darted in his direction. Just a few moments later, the backlash came crashing like thunder on social media. Overwhelmed by a sudden wave of guilt, Jake was forced to confront the privilege that had come to define him. He watched as Maria, once a maid, now tangled in the webs of hardship, faded back into the shadows, her strength amplified by his shame. There was a lingering ache in his chest, a realization that he had lost sight of the values his parents had instilled in him: hard work, compassion, connection. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days turned into weeks of introspection as the online backlash fueled an unquenchable desire for redemption. Jake began volunteering at a nearby shelter, where he learned some of Maria's story. The woman he had publicly judged was a war veteran and single mother, scarred by circumstances beyond her control. Each shared moment chipped away at the walls he had built around himself, revealing a man craving connection and empathy. The day came when their paths crossed again. Jake stood behind a food line, handing out meals that felt inadequate compared to Maria's strength. When their eyes met, a shockwave of realization surged through him. In that moment of transition, he asked her about her kids, his voice cracking. Maria smiled faintly, the hurt still palpable but softened by a glimmer of hope, one that boldly challenged his privileged existence. Jake was on the brink of something monumental. As fear and prejudice battled with compassion, he realized that confronting Maria was just part of the fight. It was a chance to reshape fate, not just his, but the community's. With Maria standing before him, defiance glimmering in her eyes, he couldn't help but wonder, would this be the moment that defined him? The turning point had arrived, but Jake wasn't sure what to do next. Standing there, cup of soup in hand, he felt both exhilarated and terrified. He had been the man in charge, calling the shots on Wall Street, and now he was face to face with a reality that made his fortune seem insignificant. Maria hadn't just become a story in his mind, she was a fiercely real presence, a woman who had endured so much yet still managed to smile. "Can I help you with anything?" he asked, his voice low and sincere. Maria looked at him, seemingly taken aback by the question. She hesitated, weighing her words as if they carried the weight of her entire history. You mean here? You want to help me? Something within Jake shifted. His heart raced. This was not the question he had practiced in his head. He wanted to know how he could make a difference, not just for Maria but for so many others like her. I want to understand, he finally said, vulnerability coating his words. What you've gone through. What you still face. I want to help. The air felt electric, as if the universe was holding its breath. Maria's expression softened, but she still stood guarded. You don't have to feel sorry for me, she said, a hint of defiance returning to her voice. I fought harder than you know, and I don't need pity. Jake's chest tightened. He could feel his privilege like a heavy cloak draped over him, yet he didn't want to lose this moment. I'm not here to pity you, Maria. I'm here because I want to do something. No, I need to do something to change this. She held his gaze for a long moment, searching for authenticity. Look, she said slowly, you might think that helping people like me is easy. But it's complicated. People have tried before. A flicker of disdain shadowed her features. Most don't stick around. They move on once they've satisfied their conscience. Jake nodded, the truth of her words hitting him like a punch. I get that. But think about this, he urged, lowering his voice to match the gravity of the conversation. What if I do stick around? What if I take the time to learn from you? What if we can work together? Maria's eyes brimmed with skepticism, yet Jake saw just a glimmer of something else, curiosity, perhaps, and the spark of connection he had been yearning for. All right, she finally said, her voice steadier now. Let us see what you're made of. Jake felt a warmth spread through him. It was an opening, a chance to finally break through the walls around both of their lives. He would take her up on that challenge, but he knew it wouldn't be easy. Days turned into weeks as Jake plunged deeper into his new reality. He worked at the shelter, learning about food distribution, health resources, and the challenges families faced every day. Through it all, he chronicled Maria's story, blending her strength and struggles with the knowledge he gleaned about countless others. Together, they began to form plans, simple yet profound initiatives aimed at empowering members of the community. As they worked into the early hours, sharing stories, ideas, laughter, and sometimes even tears, an unbreakable bond began to form. One evening, after a long day, Jake sat down with Maria, watching the sunset bleed orange and pink across the horizon. You know, he said, breaking the peaceful silence, I think I'm starting to understand what fulfillment really means. Her eyes flickered with understanding, but just as quickly as it appeared, doubt clouded her expression. But what if you've stepped into something you can't control, Jake? What if it's too deep? Jake felt the weight of her words. Would he be able to hold on to this new purpose? Would he be able to face the struggle for change they were embarking on, knowing it might cost him more than he'd ever realized? Then we'll face it together, he promised. As the last rays of sunlight disappeared, Maria's gaze softened, revealing a flicker of hope that they might actually make a difference, but also a shared fear of failure. Jake knew this journey was only just beginning. With newfound resolve, he leaned forward, whispering into the warm night air, what will we do next? The following days unfolded like the pages of a gripping book. The energy between Jake and Maria crackled with possibility, but shadows loomed behind their newfound camaraderie. As they built plans and pushed forward, the challenges before them felt heavier than anticipated. That Monday morning, they stood at the shelter, surrounded by the constant rhythm of bustling volunteers, a cacophony of voices mingling with laughter and the clattering of pots. Maria was explaining the ins and outs of food distribution, her hands animated as she described the process. Jake listened intently, absorbing every detail. I want to create a community kitchen, Maria suggested suddenly, pausing to gauge Jake's reaction. A place where families can come together to cook and share meals. It can be a safe space. Jake's heart skipped a beat. That's brilliant! He exclaimed, excitement rushing through him. He already began to think of ways to gather funds, to rally local businesses. But then he remembered Maria's cautionary words. But how would we even start? Well, we'll need space first and a team, she replied, her brow furrowed in consideration. Then there's the outreach. People need to know it's there, a reason to come. Jake felt a thrill at the thought of getting their hands dirty in this project. Let us do it, he declared, the eagerness spilling over into every syllable. But deep inside, apprehension fluttered. Was he ready for the uncertainty this would bring? With determination fueling them, they began recruiting volunteers and brainstorming budget-friendly resources. Maria's eyes sparkled as they plotted out the details, a joy radiating from her that made Jake smile. Still, late at night, he caught a hint of fear brewing beneath her confidence. They were often met with skeptics when they reached out to local businesses for donations. Questions fired like arrows. Why would anyone care? What could they possibly change? One night, after yet another long day, Maria leaned back against the shelter wall, exhaustion etched in her features. Do you ever think we're swimming against the current? She asked quietly. The shadows danced across her face as she stared out into the night, lost in thought. Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her worries. I do, he admitted. Sometimes it feels like we're just two small fish in an endless ocean. He paused, heart thumping. But isn't that what makes it worth it? The struggle? Maria turned to him, her expression a mixture of surprise and appreciation. You really believe that? I do, he said, his voice steady. We have to start somewhere, right? And if we can change even one life. The silence that followed felt thick, potent. Maria's eyes softened, reflecting something profound, an unspoken promise. They had found a flicker of hope in the shadows, yet, as the project gained momentum, so did the challenges. The bond they were forging would soon face trials they hadn't anticipated. One phone call would change everything. It came late one evening while Jake was scrolling through his emails, his mind swamped with details about the community kitchen. The call was from an unfamiliar number, and curiosity pushed him to answer. Jake, a familiar voice said on the other end, drawing him back to a world he'd tried to escape. It was a reminder of all he had left behind and the life he had run from. We need to talk. As he hung up, dread nestled in his stomach, the thrill of their project suddenly overshadowed by the weight of his past re-emerging. Maria noticed his tense demeanor and approached him, concern etched on her face. What happened? Jake swallowed hard. I think I might have to go back, he whispered, the fear clawing at his throat. Would he be pulled back into the world he was desperately trying to leave? What would it mean for Maria, for their plans? The air between them grew heavy with unsaid words, a storm brewing just ahead. Jake could feel the ground shifting beneath them, anxiety unfurling like a dark cloud. What are we going to do now? He asked, the weight of the moment closing in on them both. Jake felt the cold grip of uncertainty tighten around him. His mind raced, images flickering rapidly like an old movie reel, the life he'd left behind, the mistakes, the people who had hurt him, and the love that had slipped through his fingers. He could feel himself being pulled into memories he desperately wanted to forget. Maria stood before him, her eyes a mixture of sympathy and concern. You can't just leave, Jake. We've come so far. Her voice was steady, but Jake heard the tremor beneath it, the worry that she was trying to mask. I know, Maria, he replied, his voice barely a whisper. But it's not just about me anymore. What if they want something from me? What if they try to pull me back into that life? The thought paralyzed him. What if they do? She challenged, stepping closer. You've grown. You're not the same person you were. You have a purpose now. We have a purpose. He looked into her eyes, searching for the strength he sometimes found there. But what if I fail? What if all this is just a dream, and I'm yanked back to that place? I can't let them take me from you, from this. Jake, she took a step forward, reaching out to touch his arm, grounding him. Whatever happens, we'll face it together. I want to let you go through this alone. Her sincerity cut through the haze of his fears. For a fleeting moment, Jake felt the warmth of hope flicker inside him, but it quickly dimmed. You deserve better. You deserve someone who isn't haunted by their past. I can't drag you into my mess. Don't you dare say that, she shot back, anger flashing in her features. You're not a mess. You fought to be here, to build something beautiful. The people at the shelter, they need you. I need you. He felt his chest tighten, a mixture of gratitude and guilt flooding him. But what if I'm not strong enough? What if they find me? What if they threaten everything we've built? Maria's expression softened. Then we stand together, fight back, and prove that we're stronger than the ghosts of our past. This kitchen, it's more than just meals. It's a lifeline for us and everyone who needs it. We can't give up now. Jake's heart raced. Her words weren't just encouragement, they were a vow. Suddenly, he felt the looming dread shift, replaceable by a deep resolve. If he was going to face the past, he wouldn't do it alone. Together, they would create a foundation that could withstand whatever storm was coming. Okay, he finally said, a newfound determination settling in his bones. I'll face whatever I have to. But we have to strengthen our project. We need to reach out to more people, gather support. We can't just stand still. A spark ignited in Maria's eyes. Yes, that's exactly what we'll do. If we get the community involved, people will see how much this matters. We can turn this kitchen into something unforgettable. Jake couldn't help but smile, the tension in the air easing just a bit. They were in this together, for better or for worse. Just then, the phone rang again, startling them both. Maria shot him a questioning glance. Do you want to answer it? Taking a deep breath, he picked it up. Hello. His heart sank as the familiar voice came through again. Jake, we really need to meet. What do you want? Jake's voice shook with steely determination. We just want to talk about your mother. The blood drained from Jake's face. He exchanged a glance with Maria, the weight of his past crashing back in an instant. This was far from over. What would that meeting reveal? And how would he protect the future he was trying to build? Jake felt a chill wash over him. The voice on the other end of the line pulled him back into shadows he thought he could escape. His mind raced, each beat echoing a warning. Maria's hand squeezed his arm, grounding him, but the fear seeped through his defenses. What do they know? He murmured, more to himself than her. Memories of arguments, whispered conversations, and angry silences haunted him. Jake, listen, Maria urged, her eyes steady and fierce. Whatever they say, we'll face it together. You've built this life, and you deserve to keep it. He nodded, but doubt flickered behind his resolve. They know everything. If they contact me, they won't be casual about it. They'll have demands, threats. The last word hung in the air between them like a specter. Think of what you've accomplished here, Maria said, her voice stronger. The people who rely on you. You can't let them take that away. Jake took a deep breath, imagining the faces of those who came through their kitchen each day hungry but hopeful. A fleeting image of his mother crossed his mind, and he shook it off. I can't go back to that life. It nearly destroyed me. We won't let it, Maria insisted, taking the phone from him. You need to hear it from them directly. It's the only way to gain control. The determination ignited a flicker of courage within him. You're right, he agreed, chucking the self-doubt. Maybe we can turn this on its head. They want a meeting, let's make it happen. Let's do it at the local cafe, Maria suggested, her mind already racing ahead. Somewhere public. We'll have witnesses. Jake felt better knowing he wasn't alone in this. They began to plan, laying it all out like a well-structured meal. Who needed to be there? What questions should they ask? Each step brought him a little closer to feeling empowered again. When the meeting was set, he felt a mix of dread and anticipation building in his chest. Would they offer him an ultimatum? Would they finally reveal the truth about his mother? "You'll be okay," Maria reassured him, cupping his face in her hands, forcing him to meet her gaze. "Remember why we're doing this. We've come too far to back down." And for the first time in days, he smiled a small, bruised smile, but genuine. "You're my anchor, you know that?" Maria laughed lightly, the tension around them breaking. "And you're my reason to fight. We'll figure this out, Jake. Together." As the day approached, uncertainty lingered like clouds gathering before a storm. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this was the beginning of something monumental. And then, that night, an unexpected knock echoed through their apartment. Jake's heart raced again as he opened the door. What he saw left him speechless, a man he recognized from his past. "I came to talk about your mother," the man said, his tone cold and detached. Jake's stomach dropped. The past was catching up to him, and this time, it felt like it was ready to strike. What would the man reveal? And would Jake be ready for the truth that lay just beyond that threshold? Jake stood frozen in the doorway, looking at the man whose presence felt like a ghost from a past he had tried so hard to escape. The man's eyes were piercing, a sharp contrast to the friendly faces Jake surrounded himself with now. "Who sent you?" Jake asked, forcing his voice to break through the thick tension filling the air. The man shrugged, an indifferent motion that underscored the chilling reality before him. "It doesn't matter who sent me. What matters is what I have to say." Maria stepped closer, her body a protective barrier against the impending storm. "You can talk to us, or you can leave," she said firmly, not diverting her gaze from the stranger. The man sighed, weighing his next words like they were heavy stones. "I'm not here to hurt you, Jake. I'm just a messenger. You need to know the truth about your mother." At the mention of his mother, Jake's heart sank deeper. Would this man unveil the secrets that had been buried for so long? The memories were already bubbling at the surface, moments of laughter and love intertwined with pain and betrayal. "What do you know about her?" Jake asked, his voice low but steady, refusing to falter before the man's cold demeanor. "I know about the choices she made. The life she left behind," he replied, stepping inside as if he belonged there. "There is something you need to understand about why she vanished. It's bigger than you think." Jake clenched his fists, uncertainty tightening its grip on him. With every word that fell from this stranger's lips, he felt the walls of his new life begin to shake. "You don't know what you're talking about," he took a step back, pleading with reason. "My mother didn't have any choices. She had to what?" The man interrupted, his tone suddenly sharper. "Run. Hide. All those choices led her to a place where she had no one to turn to but you, and you weren't even aware of it." "What are you saying?" Maria interjected, her eyes narrowing. The man ran a hand through his hair, his composure wavering slightly. "I'm saying there's a reason she's been gone all these years. Your mother was involved in something dangerous. People are still looking for her, Jake, and you're not as safe as you think." Jake took a deep breath, the weight of those words cementing like lead in his chest. "What do you want from me?" he demanded, his voice stronger now, fueled by fear and determination. "It's not about what I want from you. It's about what you want for yourself. Your past is catching up. Are you prepared to face it?" The question hung in the air. Jake felt the walls closing in around him, memories swirling like a storm. And yet, amid the chaos, a flicker of resolve ignited within him. He was tired of being on the defensive, tired of remnants of his past dictating his future. "Let's talk," he said, stepping further into the apartment, drawing the line in the sand. "But this time, I'm not just a bystander." As they settled in, Jake could feel the moment shifting. Uncertainty faded slightly, replaced by something else: determination. He had a chance to uncover the truth, to understand the secrets that shaped his life. With every word the man spoke, every answer Jake demanded, he got closer to the truth about not just his mother, but who he really was. But as the hours wore on, with secrets spilling like ink across paper, Jake realized that the truth could cut deeper than any lie. Would he recover what was lost, or would he lose everything in the process? The weight of revelation loomed over him, heavier than before. What did it mean to confront a past that refused to stay buried? As night deepened outside, one question pierced through the murky shadows: was he ready for the reality that lay waiting to be unwrapped? Jake's heart raced, the silence broken only by the man's low, steady voice as he began to untangle the web of secrets surrounding his mother. Each word fell like a stone, creating ripples of confusion and dread that spread through the room. Maria's hand found Jake's, squeezing tightly as if to ground him. Your mother was involved with a group that didn't just operate in the shadows, they thrived in them. She didn't leave just to escape, she was in danger. And what she did to protect you could shake the very foundation of your life now. Why now? Why are you telling me this? Jake shot back, anger bubbling at the surface. Why not back then when it mattered? The man shrugged his shoulders, the weight of the world resting heavily upon them. Because she tried to sever ties. To shield you from this. She thought you'd be safer if you believed she simply walked away. But they never let go, Jake. They're still watching. Jake drew a sharp breath, a chill creeping down his spine. Who are they? What do they want from us? The atmosphere in the room thickened with every passing second. The man took a step closer, his voice lowering as if sharing a secret. They want her. They want to tie up loose ends. If they find you, they might think you can lead them to her. I can't let that happen, Jake said fiercely, the realization hitting him. He glanced at Maria, her worried eyes reflecting his hurt and determination. What if we help her? She's out there somewhere. We can bring her home. The man shook his head slowly, a grave expression settling upon his face. It's not that simple. There are forces at play that are beyond your understanding. Whatever choices she made, they affect you now. And the road ahead it won't be easy. Jake felt a surge of defiance. I've faced my fair share of challenges. If she's out there, I won't stop until I find her. Maria's grip tightened on his hand. But Jake, think about this. If you go looking for her, you may be drawing attention to yourself. You could put us both in danger. Maybe, Jake replied, his voice firm. But I can't turn my back on her now. I've spent too long in the dark about who she really was. I owe it to her and to myself to know the truth. The man's expression shifted, a flicker of respect mingled with concern. Then you need to prepare yourself. Knowledge can be a weapon as much as it can be a shield. They might come for you sooner than you think. Jake's mind raced. The thought of confronting the dangers lurking in the shadows felt daunting, but there was no turning back. He had to know the truth about his mother, to unearth the story that had shaped his life in ways he was only beginning to understand. Tell me what I need to do, he said, determination slicing through the uncertainty. First, be careful who you trust. There are too many eyes out there. And second, you need to find her before they do. You need to prepare for the storm that's coming. You can't fight it alone. And just like that, the reality of his situation settled over him like a heavy blanket. The weight of the unknown loomed larger, even as a flicker of hope ignited within him. Would he be able to face the storm and save the one person he had longed to find? As the man began to outline a plan, something flickered in Jake's chest, a mixture of hope and dread. Would seeking the truth ultimately lead him into darkness, or would it be the key to finally healing the wounds of his past? And as the night wore on, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that every choice he made from this moment forward could mean the difference between life and death for him and his mother. How far was he willing to go to uncover the truth? Jake could feel the tension in the air as the man detailed the first steps of their unexpected journey. He nodded, trying to absorb everything, but it felt like drowning in a whirlpool of fear and determination. Maria, still gripping his hand, showed a flicker of anxiety in her eyes. He turned to her, wanting to convey reassurance, but words felt hollow with everything at stake. "Okay, what do we need?" Jake pressed, feeling the urge to take action before the shadows closed in around them. "First, we need to find a safe place," the man said, his gaze darting around as if the walls had ears. "Somewhere off the grid where you can think. You can't have anyone knowing what you're doing." "What about my friends? They can help." Jake's voice rose, frustration pouring out. "This isn't just about me. I can't shut everyone out. Do you trust them?" The man replied, a challenging tone in his voice. "They could be a liability. If someone from the past catches wind of this, they'll use anything or anyone against you." Jake felt a knot tighten in his stomach. It was true he hadn't told his friends the whole story. They only saw the surface, the normal life he tried to maintain. But could he really bear the burden alone? The thought of leaving everyone behind felt wrong, but he also understood their safety might depend on it. What if we reach out to them anyway?" Maria interjected. "They might know something, or at least give us other ideas." "Maybe they can know," the man cut her off firmly. "No one can know. Your urgency is commendable, but it clouds judgment. We need a clean slate, and fast." Jake looked at Maria, her lips pressed into a thin line. Anger simmered between them, a silent battle of wills. He didn't want to abandon his friends, but he also didn't want to pull them into this nightmare. Suddenly, he felt lost, like a ship tossed in turbulent seas, unsure which way to turn. "Let's just take a breath," Maria said softly, her voice breaking the tension. "We could set a timeline. We don't have to do everything today. Just one call at a time, right?" Jake nodded, wanting to believe that. But each moment stretched longer. Each second passed was another second closer to danger. They needed to move, he needed to find her before the shadows found him. "Okay," he finally said. "Let's find this safe place you mentioned. We can regroup, come up with some sort of plan to flush out what we need to know." The man nodded, the line of his mouth tightening slightly. "Very well. We'll leave now. Follow my lead, and remember, trust no one. Not even each other, for now. This isn't personal, it's survival." With a heavy heart, Jake watched as the man turned to lead the way. He glanced at Maria, struggling to reconcile her worried gaze with his own spiraling thoughts. A pit formed in his stomach. There was so much they didn't know, so many unanswered questions that as they stepped out into the cool night air, the weight of uncertainty pressed around them like a heavy fog. Jake took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. They were on the edge of an unknown journey, but with every heartbeat, the fire of determination surged within him. "Just hold on, Mom. I'm coming for you," he whispered quietly under his breath, hoping somehow the words could reach her. But the deeper they went, the darker it seemed. And in the back of his mind, a troubling thought began to swell: what if finding her put them both in the crosshairs of the very shadows she had tried to escape? As they drove away into the night, Jake couldn't help but wonder, was the truth worth the risk, or was it leading him down a path too treacherous to follow? The road stretched ahead, swallowed by the dark trees on either side. The car hummed softly, a constant reminder of their escape. Jake kept glancing in the rearview mirror, half expecting to see headlights following them. "Where exactly are we headed?" Jake asked, breaking the silence that had settled around them. "To an old family property," the man replied, his tone clipped. "It's been abandoned for years, should be off anyone's radar." Maria leaned back in her seat, her fingers intertwined with Jake's. He could feel her pulse racing. They were both gripped by a nagging sense of foreboding. "How long will we be there?" she finally asked, her voice quieter than before. "As long as it takes," the man said. "We'll need to figure out our next step, and we can't do it in the open. Jake's heart pounded in his chest. Time was slipping through his fingers like sand. What do you mean by figuring out? We need to be on the offensive, not sitting around. Patience, he warned, glancing at Jake. You can't rush this. Jake clenched his jaw. Patience felt like a luxury they couldn't afford. He could almost hear the echoes of his mother's laughter, the warmth of her presence. He wouldn't fail her. He couldn't. Minutes passed, the tires crunching over gravel as they turned onto an overgrown driveway. Dead branches reached out like ghostly hands, swaying in the night wind. The man parked the car and pointed toward a dilapidated house in the distance, moonlight filtering through fading windows. Here we are, he said. Stay close. No distractions. Stepping out into the damp night, the air was thick with the smell of earth and decay. Old memories clung to the walls like cobwebs. Jake felt a chill run down his spine, drawing him back to moments of laughter and warmth in their family home. Is it safe? He breathed, searching the shadows for signs of life. Safe enough. For now, the man replied tersely. We'll figure out your mother's trail from here. As they moved inside, everything creaked with age. The ambience felt heavy, almost suffocating. Dust motes danced in the air, illuminated by the single light bulb flickering above them. Jake's pulse quickened as he took in the worn-out furniture, memories almost tangible in the air. This place held stories, and he needed every one of them to help his mother. He turned to Maria, about to speak, but her eyes widened as she gestured behind him. A shadow slipped past the doorway. Did you see? Jake started, adrenaline spiking. The man moved swiftly, his tone sharp. Stay close. No noise. They edged away from the entrance, hearts racing. Jake's mind raced with possibilities. Who else was here? What if it was someone tracking them? Should we check it out? Maria whispered, gripping Jake's arm tightly. No, the man instructed, scanning their surroundings. We can't risk it. We need to remain hidden. The shadows danced ominously in the corners of the room. Jake could feel the air growing thicker, weighed down by the secrets that seemed to linger like smoke. What if they know we're here? What if? Breathe, the man cut him off. Think. Whatever it is, we'll deal with it together. Jake nodded, though fear sat squarely in his gut. He needed to focus, but panic clawed at his mind. This was supposed to be a safe haven. Instead, it felt like they were walking straight into darkness. What awaited them in those shadows? The truth was lurking just ahead, but at what cost? Jake could feel the weight of their choices pressing down, and with it, a growing urgency. Let us find a place to lay low, the man said, leading them deeper into the house. But in the silence that followed, uncertainty loomed larger than ever. A whisper of movement echoed down the hallway. What is that? Maria murmured, glancing back at Jake, her eyes wide with fear. Jake felt his heart stop. Had they been followed here? The thrill of danger tinged the air, leaving him with a haunting question, were they being hunted? As they crept further into the darkness, the taste of dread settled on Jake's tongue, a bitter reminder that they were far from safe. At that moment, every instinct screamed to turn back. But he couldn't not when he was so close to her, so close to uncovering the truth. Did they have the courage to face whatever awaited them? Or would it demolish everything they fought for? Jake's heart thundered in his chest as the shadows loomed larger around him and Maria. With each step deeper into the dim interior of the house, a sense of impending dread wrapped around him, squeezing tighter with every creak of the floorboards beneath his feet. The man, their reluctant guide, led the way with a fierce focus, but Jake couldn't shake the feeling that something or someone was watching them. Let us just find a room, the man urged, urgency lacing his voice. We need to regroup, and you need to understand your mother's situation more, or we won't be prepared. Maria's grip on Jake's arm tightened, her fear palpable. He could see it in her eyes. This was no longer about uncovering family secrets, it was a battle for survival. The memories of happier days, filled with laughter, seemed so far away amid the weighty silence of the house. As they turned the corner into a small, cluttered room, Jake's breath caught. Dust hung in the air, and the remnants of forgotten memories enveloped them like a heavy fog. Old family photographs adorned the walls, but even the cheerful smiles in the frames felt tinged with sadness, anchoring him to a past he was desperate to understand. "Sit. We need to talk," the man instructed, urgency snapping through Jake's resistance to sit in that haunted space. Jake motioned to Maria first. "You okay?" he whispered, concern painting his voice. She nodded but didn't meet his eyes. "Let us hear what he has to say," she said, steadying her breath. The man wasted no time. "Your mother was involved in dangerous dealings, Jake. It wasn't just running away, it was a matter of survival. The group she was with hunted her to silence her and anyone associated with her." Jake's pulse quickened. Why didn't she just tell me? Why leave me in the dark? Anger wrapped around his voice, echoing off the walls. "She could have. She thought you'd be safer that way," the man shot back, his voice sharper than before. "She wanted to shield you from the truth, Jake." The truth. It came crashing down like a wave, overwhelming and suffocating. Jake raked his fingers through his hair, the realization hitting home. His mother had loved him enough to sacrifice her own safety, to hide him from the reality of their lives. And now I'm supposed to find her. "Yes, before they do," the man replied, his voice growing grave. "You're her son, and they will use you against her if they know. The clock is running. We have to outmaneuver them." The fear coursing through Jake twisted into determination. "I want to let them hurt her," he swore. "What's the plan?" Maria squeezed his hand, grounding him. "Together, right?" Jake looked at her, nodding fervently. "Together." The man nodded, impressed by their unity. "We need to gather intel. First, I have contacts who can help. But we can't trust just anyone. What do we do?" Maria asked, her voice softening against the backdrop of danger. "How do we find her?" "Jake needs to go somewhere he can draw out information back to the city. It's south, the only place to find leads." The weight of what lay ahead settled like an anchor in Jake's chest. "Back to the city?" he echoed, remembering the life he had fled, the life that clearly still clung to him. "We need to cut away what's left of your past ties, get what we need, and keep moving," the man urged. "I can't stress enough how careful you have to be." All Jake could think was how much he didn't want to go, how he feared once stepping back into the world he'd left behind. But getting to his mother meant facing that pain, that fear head-on. Silence hung in the air as the moment settled into resolve. Then, Maria stood up, determination lighting her eyes. "I'll go with you. You shouldn't face this alone." Jake turned to her, flooded with gratitude. "Are you sure? This could get dangerous." "Jake," she said softly, "we've come this far together. There's no way I'm backing down now." Her fierce commitment warmed him, like sunlight peeking through heavy clouds. Fortified by her spirit, he finally nodded. "Okay. Together." With that, they began to sort through their plan. The man pulled out a map, detailing routes, safe spots, and locations of interest. "You can't trust anyone. Keep your circle small. Find what you need quickly and don't linger." Maria and Jake shared a glance, both feeling the weight of the journey ahead. As dawn broke, painting the room in soft hues of peach and gold, Jake felt a spark of hope ignite in his chest. Maybe this time this plan would lead him to his mother. Maybe the truth he sought would close the chasm that had long existed between them. Before stepping out into the new day, Jake whispered a quiet vow into the morning light, "I'm coming for you, Mom." With each step taken away from the house, away from the dark, towards the unknown, he felt the shadows recede just a bit. This was a chance to reclaim what he lost, to finally break the chains that had held him captive for too long. But as they drove back into the city that had once caused him so much pain, a flicker of apprehension burned in his gut. Would uncovering the truth lead to liberation, or would it pull them into even darker territories? Only time would tell as they raced toward the truth, but one thing was clear: they were no longer just chasing shadows. They were in search of a way home. Now, you need to subscribe immediately to not miss the next exclusive stories that will leave you on the edge of your seat. This is the moment to show your support for the journey of Jake and Maria. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the story alive. Comment your reactions and feelings about this intense conclusion. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Your support is what drives this channel,